our push-up technique. This technique is a technique that I developed over 30 years ago. When I was a competitive powerlifter, my gym coach came up to me and saw how I was bench pressing, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm benching." And I basically had a close grip. I bring it down on my chest, low on my chest, and when I pushed up, when I got about halfway, I'd have to draw my elbows out to get the right leverage to be able to lock out my arms. My powerlifting coach looked at me and he said, "We need to adjust you." So he had me widen my grip, bring the bar right across the upper pectoral here with the elbows straight out. This gives you 90-degree angles, maximum leverage, works the outer pectoral. And I tried doing that for several weeks, and my bench pressing 1 rep max went way down, and then all of a sudden it shot up, and I ended up breaking the state record in bench press because of his technique. So I've taken that technique and I've developed a push-up technique that you will not find anywhere out there in the world. I have never seen any other trainer or coach teach this technique. It makes a lot of sense, and you'll see it here in just a second. Most people, coaches and trainers, when they tell their guys to do push-ups, they tell them to get their hands directly underneath their shoulders. By doing that, you're creating less than a 90-degree angle. That would be the same thing as laying on a bench and basically having your hands over your abdominals. Here, I'll demonstrate that once. Let me show you my push-up bars. I'm going to just lay on my back and demonstrate the technique that most coaches will tell you to do in a push-up. All the coaches and trainers that I've ever talked to, and all the books I've read, and all the internet, all basically say the same thing. When you're performing a push-up, make sure your hands are not too far forward or too far back and right underneath your shoulders. Well, what they don't know is that that's a bad angle. If you perform every push-up the way I'm going to teach you, it's equivalent to doing bench press with 60% of your body weight. So it'd be like laying on a bench, grabbing 60% of your body weight and doing the same workout that you would do for push-ups. I made a bet with my SEAL platoon one time back in the early 80s. They were all a bunch of muscle heads, and they didn't know it, but I used to be too. And I made a bet with them. I said, "You know what? I will go 6 months and never lifting weights." I said, "For 6 months, I'll do nothing but calisthenics." And at the end of the 6 months, and I weighed 150 pounds at the time, I said, "I'll bench 300. And so I bet several $100 and some other items. And so I went 6 months of doing nothing but push-ups and dips, floor exercises, all freehand exercises for my shoulders and for my chest and my triceps. And at the end of 6 months, I laid down on a bench, I grabbed a 300 off the rack, and I said to myself, "Gee, I wonder if I could do this." My whole platoon's watching. Brought it down on my chest. "Oh, that feels good." Brought it down again. "This is awesome." And I did 3 reps of 300 pounds. So that was double my body weight. I weigh 150. I was benching double my body weight. 300 pounds for 3 reps, never lifting weights. Now, if you ask a high school coach or a football coach or a strength and conditioning coach, what is the way I need to work out in order to increase my bench pressing? And they'll always tell you, less reps, higher weight. So that's where my system comes into play, and it throws all that off kilter. What they're saying is true. I know. I love heavy lifting. I love powerlifting. But I wanted to show the world that you could achieve the same amount of strength with never lifting weights. And what it comes down to is perfect technique, relaxation, and breathing. You have to know when to relax on your techniques and how to breathe properly. You master these techniques, and your push-ups are going to increase greatly along with your strength for your bench press and everything. So, again, you ask anybody how to do a proper push-up, they always tell you, have your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Now let me show you something. I'm going to lower the camera so you can see as if I was simulating bench pressing. So, I got my dumbbells, and I'm going to go into lay on the bench at the same angle I would bench press. So I have basically a 90-degree angle from my arm to my torso. That's a 90-degree angle right now. That would be for a perfect bench press technique. Now, if I was to take the weight, and you can try this, and hold it at the same angle everybody tells you to do push-ups, I'm going to be holding my weight down here. See the angle? that's the same angle that everybody does their push-ups. Right here. Now, would I be able to hold my max weight like that? No way. So, would I be able to do my maximum amount of reps on push-ups? No way. I have to achieve that 90 just like I do when I'm benching. Now, when you're benching, if you want to take your elbows and draw them into the side a little bit more too, that makes it easier on your shoulders at times. And it also puts more of the effort on the center of the pectoral versus the outside of the pectorals, which is what I'm trying to teach you. Now let's talk about the push-up. I'm going to use push-up bars. I've used push-ups. These push-up bars are 48 years old. They've got thousands upon thousands of push-ups on them. I do pyramids on these and sets to failure, 5 sets to failure, depending on which workout I want to do. Now, by utilizing push-up bars, you're able to go further than the floor. So if I just want to do a push-up to the floor, say I had my hands on the floor, I'd take it to here. Now if I want to go all the way down, I'd go past that with the push-up bars. Now as you can see, there's various points of performance that you have to realize come into play when performing what I call a perfect push-up. And it doesn't cost you $39.99 to go out and buy them. If you want to buy push-up bars, they'll cost you $7 or $8. Go to TJ Maxx. They're made out of plastic. They're not made out of steel like mine are. These things are antiques, like me. So, you can buy push-up bars, or you can take yourself your dumbbells. And then people always ask, well, should I do a neutral position on my push-ups, or should I go to the side? If you want to work on your bench press strength and your natural push-ups, you'll do it with the bars facing like this. Again, watch the elbows. When I'm doing my push-up, I come down, so now I have a nice 90 right across here, okay? Between my hand, down to my elbow, across my chest. That's my best leverage. Now if you draw your elbows down a little bit, it takes the tension somewhat off the shoulders and puts a little bit more into the pectoral, center pectoral area. It depends on your strength and your technique that you're used to, so you have to play with that and adjust the level as you're being able to do this. If you don't have push-up bars, what you can do, if you have any type of plates that have holes in them, take the plate, put it on the ground, put your dumbbell in there. That'll hold it in place so that the dumbbell doesn't move around. So now I have push-up bars without having to go to the store to buy some. So again, go down as far as you can, push it back up. Now, as far as the technique on my push-ups, first thing I want to do on my push-up bars is I want to acquire my 90-degree angle. You guys have all seen people when they do push-ups and they got their shoulders right up over their hands like they tell you to do. When they get tired, what do guys do and gals? They put their butt in the air to make themselves a target. They advertise. If you're in training doing a PST and you put your butt in the air, you're saying to the instructor, hey, over here, look at me, I'm weak. Alright, so keep your butt down. What you do, when you get tired, you see how I'm back on my heels? Roll forward, roll back. Roll forward, roll back. Try this, you'll see it'll change the strain on your shoulders. Alright? It displaces your weight at different angles when you do that. And now you're not putting your butt in the air advertising, hey instructor, look at me, I'm tired. So, don't make yourself a target. Now that 90-degree angle, when you achieve the 90-degree angle, what you're going to do is put your hands slightly in front of your shoulders, your back flat. Notice I'm back on my heels. As I go down, I'm going to fall. Notice I have my 90. My toes, I'm forward on my toes. And when I go up, I roll back on my toes. Maintain a 90. So I'm going to follow from my shoulders, down on my hands, back up to where the shoulders started. And by doing that, I have to rotate it slightly forward on my toes. So I go down and up, down, up, down, up. Now, the physical starting position on a push-up is in the upright position. What you want to do is eliminate the negative. Now I know some of my best friends that are trainers and doctors, they'll tell you to do a negative on the exercise. So you have on your movement, when you contract, you have concentric, and when you extend, you have eccentric movements. Negatives will help work both, help so that you're doing both concentric and eccentric movements. But the problem with that is the mental aspect. If you're training and you're doing negative reps on push-ups or pull-ups or sit-ups because you want to get that full effect, what happens is the way you train is the way you're going to operate in real life. So as you're doing your push-ups, if you're sitting there doing negatives, and then all of a sudden it comes to do a PST, you're going to be going down, up. So every time you're doing a negative on your exercise, when you control it down, control it up, you're doing an effort of 2 repetitions for every one. Now, let's make it so you're only using about a quarter of the effort. What I need to do is show you how to take a push-up movement, which is basically a strength movement, and turn it into a power movement. Have you ever done clapping push-ups? That's what you need to do for the thrust. So when you're thrusting up, it's like a plyometric. When you're thrusting up, you're going to use less energy to get to the top. All right? So I'll do basically a simulated clapping push-up here, okay? So when a normal push-up, you go down, you go up. A clapping push-up, you have to thrust up in order to make the clap. So you go down, up, clap, down, up, clap, down, up, clap. All right? Now, on that thrust, if you learn how to start your momentum by thrusting up, you can lock out a lot easier. So you fall from the top. The top is a physical starting position. The bottom is the mental starting position. So you fall to the mental starting position, thrust, and then lock it out. And then fall, thrust, lock it out. If you can acquire this technique, and normally my workouts, when I do this, I'll do a pyramid from 1 up and back down again. When you do that, whatever number you go to, starting at 1, working your way up, whatever the top number is, times that by itself, and that's how many push-ups you've done. So when I do that, as far as rest periods, my rest is how long it took me to do that last set. So if I'm doing 1, I'll go down, 1. Then I'll rest for the same amount of time it took me to do the rep. I'll try to stay in a lean and rest position for as long as I can, up to 5, 6, 7, and then I'll go to my knees to take my rest. So I'll sit here, fall, thrust, fall, thrust, fall, thrust, fall, thrust, fall, thrust, fall, thrust. Now I'll take my break as long as it took me to do that set, then do the next set, and if I get high enough and I need to, I take my rest on my knees. So, if you go to the website, I've got the workouts on there. I always take my workouts to failure. Now I know if there's other trainers here, it's like, oh, you never want to do that. No, if you're doing CrossFit or some workout where you're not using good technique but you're worried about speed, speed kills. All right? Every movement you do, you should have total control and use proper technique. And by doing this, you're going to get much stronger than somebody that's just trying to rush through and get as many reps as they can. That's a good cardio workout. By doing this and maintaining the exact prescribed rest periods I give you, you're going to get your heart rate up. You're going to get a good cardio workout. So again, let's reiterate the push-up and everything we went over on that. On the technique itself, you want to try to maintain the 90. From the shoulder to the hands, roll forward on your heels and back on your heels will get you in that 90-degree angle, which is the exact same as the weak people putting their butt in the air. Here I am at my 90, roll forward on the heels, put the chest between your hands, roll back, forward, back. My mother can do 100 push-ups this way. All right, keep the back straight. Again, fall from the physical starting position at the top to the mental starting position at the bottom, thrust up, lock out, do it again. So, if you master this technique, your push-ups are going to go up.